Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a crime mystery film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2016, directed by Julian T. Pinder and Adam Levins, and this film is called Population Zero. So Population Zero is about this documentarian. He is making a documentary about a very strange case where a man actually killed 3 people in the Yellowstone National Park and he was acquitted. There was a loophole in the judiciary system that basically allowed him to walk free, and so this is something that just completely confused everybody. So the documentarian is actually going to start looking into it, and the further he looks into it, the more he realizes that things aren't quite what they seem, and he starts to question some things within the case, and this gets the attention of the man who was actually accused. And so this is where very strange events transpire that actually makes the documentarian think completely differently. So what those things are is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Population Zero. This is actually a found footage movie, and so initially I actually thought this was a found footage horror film, and so if you go into it thinking that, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, because it's definitely not a horror film. It's much more of a crime mystery. It's like a real life crime sort of feel that the movie has, and the movie does get a lot of authenticity in that. I thought it was very realistic the way that this documentary was unfolding, a mockumentary, and so I liked that. It had a strong grounded sense of realism, and so there was no real theatrics to the film, and that does weigh it down to some degree, which is something I'll explain a little bit later. But I think they really nailed that aesthetic, that it was something that you're watching on basically a real life documentary on YouTube, where it's about a serial killer or very strange events that take place. And so I think that the directors of this movie really nailed what it is to create something that's very intriguing. And the overall story I thought was very interesting, is that how did this man get off murdering 3 people? He confessed to the crime, and everything that transpired from that was very strange. But then as the movie starts to delve deeper into the truth of the matter, it starts to spiral and it starts to create that snowball effect. And I thought, alright, well, that was fairly well done, and where are these directors taking me? And as the movie goes further, I started to feel that these documentarians were under a little bit of stress and in a little bit of danger, because getting to the truth can actually mean putting your life in danger. And so I thought that the setup and the platform was actually very well done. I thought the acting was fairly decent, and just the way that the movie was shot. I really like mockumentaries, and I think that as far as creating something that you could really believe in, I definitely think Population Zero really nailed what it is. It's basically a documentarian where it's interviewing people, and then you have the investigation process that's taking place. And so it's not a very long film, so it's basically over before it starts to get really boring. But unfortunately, the biggest problem I had with this movie is that it just doesn't really have anything going for it. It's not a very thrilling film. It's a movie that's more concerned about being realistic as opposed to being something that is a theatrical film. And so while it doesn't have theatrics, while it is grounded in a strong sense of realism, it's a little bit too realistic to be a film. It's really too realistic to be as that sort of mockumentary. Is that if you're making a mockumentary, make it entertaining. Is that, alright, well, this is just another movie that's just trying to emulate what it is to be a real documentary and nothing else. And so it's like a movie you watch on YouTube. It's like a show you watch on YouTube, like a 10-minute Vice program. And 10-minute Vice programs are very interesting, but they're not movies, and they don't really. And this movie doesn't really strike you as a film, as opposed to something that you see on YouTube for a 10-minute film. And so the movie just doesn't really take any risks. So I thought, all right, well, where are the directors taking? This is starting to get really creepy, but it just doesn't transpire to anything. And so I thought to myself, well, there's just no long-lasting appeal to this film. It's not a very memorable movie at all, because it just doesn't really have anything going for it at all. The theatrics are not there, and the theatrics is something that you need in a film to really sell it. And so if you like your real-life crime sort of films, then this mockumentary might appeal to you. But you go into a film wanting to watch a film, but I never felt as though it was a film. I always thought as though it was a mockumentary, taking itself way too seriously. There were avenues in this movie that they could have taken to actually make the movie really good, and maybe go down slightly a horror path. But as I said, it just doesn't do that, and it's more concerned with being something that you could really believe in. The story was very interesting, but I just don't think they capitalised on the story very well. It is a movie that will make you think about. I'm not going to tell you what I thought about it, because it might give it away, but it's a movie that will make you think. But unfortunately, it's not a movie that's going to hit you with anything. It's just a movie that will make you think. You think, okay, well, yeah, all right, that was a decent movie, but then again, once I turned it off, I had no real desire to watch it again, and I pretty much forgot about it pretty quickly. And so it's just definitely not a movie that hits you with anything that is terribly memorable. It's just a pedestrian kind of film. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie, but it's definitely a movie that does stay confined within the boundaries of safety. Therefore, it's just a movie that, as I said, it really amounts to nothing. And so that's disappointing, because it did have possibilities to make it something that's very memorable. So if you are a fan of found footage films, don't be misled. This is not a found footage horror film. It's a found footage movie. It's a mockumentary, but it just fails to deliver with anything that is going to last in your memory. So overall, for Population Zero, going to give this one 2 stars. It's very well made, but just doesn't really have any driving force behind it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.